Gareth Southgate has got to be buzzing. He really does. I know many of us didn't like the way that England got through against the US, but just park that for a second. Would Gareth Southgate have been happy with how England plays against the US? Yes. Did Gareth Southgate play for a draw? I think a lot of us really think he played for a draw against the US. So if you believe he played for a draw and then he got a draw, surely by association you believe that he's happy with that. That worked out, right? I'm sure Gareth would have loved 9 points, but I think he probably planned for 7. So with that in mind, he's got to be absolutely delighted with what he's seen. And I think, particularly in terms of the attack, he's got so many options now that he must feel he's in with a real chance of winning it. He's probably feeling that he's learnt something from previous tournaments as well. And I think that's really important that England actually take the focus away from their defence and put it onto their attack. Because nothing highlighted quite how light we are in attack by the fact that there was no Ben White... how light we are in defence. There was no Ben White on the bench. And in order for him to rest Luke Shaw, which he did, because at that point Southgate's resting all the players that he deems to be important. Kane's coming off and Declan Rice is coming off. He'd already rested Raheem Sterling. We know he loves Raheem Sterling. Saka was getting rested. A lot of these players were being brought off and their replacements are coming on. And for him to be able to wrap Luke Shaw in cotton wool, what was his answer? What was his only answer? Well, unfortunately, it was to bring in Trippier. Who's Kieran Trippier? Well, he's a right back. No, he's a right back. He started as England's first choice right back. So basically, to wrap the left back in cotton wool, he's brought on the right back. It's because we don't have a suitable person that can play a left back to cover him, such as the injury crisis, if you like, at fullback. If I'd have suggested to you a few months ago that England's first choice fullbacks at this tournament would be Reece James and Ben Chilwell, you possibly wouldn't have argued with me too hard. Well, they're not here now, and that's the trouble that Gareth Southgate has got. Well, okay, I mean, far from ideal, but he does have a fit defence. He does have a defence that doesn't look too bad, albeit it's not been massively tested. I think the one time it was tested with a good striker was against Iran, and the guy that plays for Sporting Lisbon came on, and he I think he led Harry Maguire a merry dance. But Maguire plays all right at this level. My point is we will play against better attacks than we've played against in the group. However, our attack is very, very good. And I think for that reason, it's really important that Southgate makes the effort to play more of an attacking game than a defensive one. Will he do that? I don't know. Because I think England can win the World Cup. Do I think England will win the World Cup? That depends on Southgate, obviously. I mean, it's stating the bleeding obvious, isn't it? That whatever team's results will be predicated upon what the manager does, of course, naturally. But in this instance, more than ever, I think, because if he just has a little switch up and changes his mentality, then we stand a chance. And it's not like he has to change it up massively. He just has to have the Iran and the Wales mentality and not the US one. He has to not have that David Moyes mentality, that ultra-cautious one, which is, I will just keep it tight. Because actually defending, we've already covered the defenders, we ain't that great at it. Going forward, we can be really, really menacing. And this is why I think Southgate's probably looking at it and he's thinking, I'm loving this. I will have a bit of this. He's probably looking and thinking, I don't know. I don't know if Rashford's better than Saka. That's a really good thing. It's put massive pressure on him. Saka scored a couple of goals. Rashford scored 3. He's really pressing him for the inclusion there. And by the way, let me make this point. I don't think Sterling was poor in that first game against Iran. I thought he had a decent game. Scored a goal, of course, didn't he? Harry Kane put the ball over in much the same way as Harry Kane put the ball over for Foden's goal in this game against Wales. But I think he's got real choices there. I think when he looks at it, I think it's hard to make a case that Grealish shouldn't be starting off the bench. Now, I like Grealish. If it were my team, and it's not, I'm talking about, if I'm going to talk about can England win the World Cup, we're going to have to really have our realistic mindset on about what Gareth Southgate's going to do. He's not going to play Jack Grealish from the start and Phil Foden and Saka and Rashford. That's just not going to happen. So I do believe he's going to pick a couple of them. And I think with that in mind, if you use Gareth Southgate's mindset, it's very hard to make a case that he's going to do anything other than use Jack Grealish off the bench. And Jack Grealish is dangerous off the bench. I can understand that. I get that. Who should start on the left-hand side? Well, I mean, he can start any one of them on the left-hand side because they all seem able to play on any side. So I wouldn't get too caught up on Sterling only being able to play left, Foden only being able to play left or whatever. So Rashford scored 2 goals in that game. I mean, he played the first half off the left, second half off the right. That being said, all his goals have come when he's played off the right, which I guess puts pressure on Saka. But then again, I thought Foden looked pretty good when he played on the right. Obviously, Foden in this game created the first goal. Coming in off the left, he created the free kick. He won the free kick. Rashford scored it. Obviously, he was there to tap in from Harry Kane's cross for the second goal in that match. There's real options there. I think there really are. And I guess almost it doesn't matter because now you're allowed to use so many substitutions. You've got a million substitutions to use now. He can really impact the game off the bench, and he seems to. I don't feel that Southgate is waiting until the 75th, 80th minute to make a substitution. I actually don't. I think, he actually goes for it, and I think that's pretty cool. What I'm not so impressed about is what he does in attacking midfield. And I didn't like the composition in the midfield against Wales, although it worked against Wales, if you get my meaning. I do not like Bellingham, Henderson and Rice. There's one too many defensive players in there. Bellingham is a force of nature, and I don't think he's a defensive player, but he's in there because he can also get back and he will work hard and all the rest of it. And that's why Mount is in there, because he works hard. But I don't think he brings the ultimate magic, the ultimate sprinkling of stardust. And that's what I want to see. He's not going to do it. And this is what I find infuriating. But I also find it the key, and think it's the key to whether England can win this World Cup or not. Kane up front, Bellingham and Rice in central midfield. He has to play Bellingham. Do not drop Bellingham. No matter how promising Phillips might look, do not drop Bellingham. You've got your back four sorted out. You know your goalkeeper is. It doesn't matter whether it's Saka or Rashford on the right. I really don't think it alters the team massively. Kane will find either one. I don't think it matters if you've got Sterling or Foden on the left. I prefer Foden, but I don't think it matters. Kane will find either one. The one position that counts is what should be the number 10 role. It wasn't even the number 10 role against Wales. We had 2 number 8s, basically. That's the key. If Gareth Southgate, just in one position, can throw off the shackles and pick a creative player of a bit of genius, England can win the World Cup.